Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hopefully you're having an amazing day. Will Sony take a leaf out of Microsoft's playbook and embrace Game Pass or a Game Pass-like service? Well, I believe the answer is a little more complicated than that, but all of this stems from a very interesting interview that Jim Ryan has recently had with gamesindustry.biz. I'll link the full interview, of course, in the video description. But yeah, I hope that the PlayStation 5, and I really believe the PlayStation 5, will be Sony's biggest and best and most loved PlayStation yet. I hope that happens, said Ryan. But I would like to see a world where games that we make at PlayStation can be enjoyed by many tens of millions of people, perhaps hundreds of millions of people. And right now, the success of the current console model, a really great PlayStation hit, you're talking 10 or 20 million people being able to play that game. And when we're talking about games stacking up against music, we're talking about stacking up against movies, music and movies that can be enjoyed by an almost limitless audience. And I think that the art in our studio is making is some of the finest entertainment that's been made anywhere in the world. And to kind of gate the audience for that wonderful art, entertainment that our studios are making, to gate the audience for that at 20 or 30 million frustrates me. I would like to see a world where hundreds of millions of people can enjoy those games. End quote. Again, I'll link the full interview in the description, but I do feel that this is the most pertinent part. Now, of course, at the end of the day, Sony have had absolutely stellar exclusive titles. Everything from Bloodborne and Demon's Souls to Uncharted, The Last of Us, Spider-Man, and so on and so on. And yeah, they are, of course, one of the primary reasons that people are buying consoles. But there's also a very interesting set of comments just recently from Sean Layden. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it is, of course, because he used to be the former president and CEO over at Sony Interactive Entertainment, or SIE. In a recent interview with Bloomberg, he said that PlayStation 4 titles, the big games, were costing around $100 million to produce. And he thinks that PlayStation 5 games could become even more expensive. Now, obviously, he's not really in charge of those projects anymore, but he guesstimates that we could see PS5 games become worth, or rather cost, up to $200 million to create. He adds that as the price, the cost of producing a game increases, you need to try to de-risk it. So of course this is one of the reasons that you see sequels for beloved franchises, because once you've got an established audience and people love the game, you know that they're most likely going to want to buy the sequel. Now, it is worth noting that Sean Layden actually left Sony because he felt like he was at risk of burnout and had previously said that AAA development costs were unsustainable. So there is that to bear in mind regarding his comments. And there is one other piece of the puzzle that I want to bring attention to, and that concerns a patent which somewhat flew under the radar. I believe it was DualShockers.com who discovered this, so of course I will link it in the video description. That is the article. Now, this patent is very neatly titled. It says it's ultra high speed, low latency network storage. This might sound a little bit dry, but this would be, if you read the patent anyway, a precursor to allow PlayStation 5 games to be streamed on PlayStation Now. So basically, when you're dealing with a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X title, obviously one of the primary drivers for this next generation of performance, well, it's the SSDs inside them, right? Like being able to read gigabytes per second of data is just extremely important, and there's a reason that Mark Cerny, Microsoft and games developers have been pushing how important this is, because it means that you don't need to store data that's going to last, let's say 20 or 30 or 60 seconds or even a couple of minutes in the memory of the console. Instead, you can just think of it as just a few seconds of data that you need, and this means that you can cram in much higher resolution textures and all of the other good stuff that we've discussed on the channel multiple times before. So this patent instead is basically detailing using multiple NVMe drives, the same kind of drives essentially you have in a PlayStation 5, to network them all together to allow you to stream games. Essentially, the system will be able to load balance based upon the usage of specific drives and the users and the titles that they're playing, so that you will get a seamless experience, well, as seamless as you can anyway, of course, from an online gaming experience. Now, from a personal perspective, I just think it's logical that Sony does start to embrace a way to get a larger audience for its games. Now, of course, we've already started to see certain PlayStation exclusives make their way to the PC. Most recently, we've seen Uncharted, of course, be announced for the PC. And I'm not really surprised this is happening, because while I know that you will get a vocal minority of the PlayStation fan base who doesn't like this, at the end of the day, if you have a PC gamer, and I know a lot of people who do play only on PC, they will not buy a PlayStation 5. It doesn't matter what game Sony releases for the PS5, they will not buy a PS5. So at the end of the day, all you're doing by not releasing the title on PC, for example, is limiting your audience and thus the amount of money that you can make. But yeah, I'm pretty convinced also that Sony will be expanding its PlayStation Now capabilities and allow users to stream PlayStation 5 games via PS Now. I think that is just very logical. But will they embrace a Game Pass model? Well, honestly, Jim's statement is a little ambiguous. I don't 100% know whether Sony will do that, as previously in the past, Sony haven't exactly seemed super open to a Game Pass model. However, it is quite clear at this point that Sony, at least certain individuals at Sony, including Jim, does want PlayStation to branch out as much as possible. And I also don't think we're going to see, simultaneous releases of every single game on the PlayStation 5 and the PC. I do feel that Sony is still going to be rather selective of the titles that it does bring over. However, I do think that we're going to see an increasing number of PlayStation titles being released on the PC, which I guess for PC gamers like myself is absolutely fantastic, because while I do own a PS5, my preferred platform to play on is the PC. And it's going to be very interesting though, because at the moment PC is being seen as kind of like this neutral middle ground where Microsoft, of course, are releasing games on it for obvious reasons. It, at the end of the day, is kind of the Xbox ecosystem. And then PlayStation are also releasing games because PC gamers are willing to cough up the money. Certain titles have done quite well on PC, I believe. And it will be very interesting to see how this really kind of shapes itself over the next couple of years, I think. I actually would like to see, a world where more people can play PlayStation games, because I just like the idea of more people having access to really cool games. So yeah, let me know what you think, guys, on this one. Do you think Sony will embrace the Game Pass-like model, or do you think instead it's going to be more streaming focused, which is kind of the direction I'm leaning towards, and also seeing games being ported more regularly to the PC? With that said, thanks very much for checking out the video. I'll see you soon, take care of yourselves, and bye for now.